episode 63 with Stephanie Lojen on the 9 Point Start the Dream podcast.
Welcome to 9 Point Started with a Dream podcast. Our goal is to showcase the stories of athletes and the community that supports them by being authentic about their journey. Here's your host, Jacoby Gillum.
Yo, welcome back to the podcast. I'm your host, as always, Jacoby Gillum. This episode, we have Stephanie Lojen. She is a Canadian volleyball player that just got done with her first season overseas. And cool journey here to kind of see, her growth and progression since, what she learned from that first season abroad. It's great for anyone that wants to, figure out their own abroad journey and kind of what steps she took to kind of make the opportunity happen. So, great episode here. Hope you enjoy, and let's get to it. So, Stephanie, the question I ask everyone that comes on is, when you're younger as an athlete, what's one of your bigger dreams or goals you want to achieve?
My dream was, first of all, when I was in high school, my dream was to play in a university for the University of Montreal. My sister played for them, and obviously, she was my role model. She's the person I looked up to. And so, back in high school, I didn't see past university. For me, it was like the ultimate goal. And then I ended up making it to the university, and I made the team and all that. And then, my dream after that was to keep playing. It was to play pro abroad, either in Europe or South America or even Asia. I just knew that at my position as a libero, it's really, really hard. So, I dreamt about that, and it ended up coming true. So, yeah.
That's awesome. So for you, was it always volleyball? Was that always your go-to sport? Whether you all other things as well?
Yeah, no. Well, when I was a kid, I was really into ballet for a number of years.
Okay, cool.
That I played soccer as a kid. I was into figure skating. So we were an active family. Our parents really pushed all three kids to pursue as many sports as we could when we were kids, and then eventually in high school, the way the sports seasons are structured in Canada, it's kind of hard to play two sports at the same time. So I stuck to volleyball starting high school, and then I just kept playing until I'm not done yet. So
you're just getting started now.
Yeah, I just did. So I just got started. So hopefully I still have a few years ahead of me, and yeah.
That's awesome. So throughout that whole journey, you say you want to go to university, and you didn't see past university. So when you got there, what was that like for you? What was the expectation that you had in your mind of how the journey was going to go?
To me, it was a really big deal. I remember walking into the gym and just being impressed or in admiration for, with the players I was playing with, because they were players that I watched. I didn't think I was at their level yet. I wasn't a year before that or a few months before that. I was in the stands watching them play and just being in admiration of what they could do on the court. And it was just overwhelming to be in the same gym as them and be considered at their level. And then quickly I had to get the hang of it, because I was a freshman. I was in my first year, and the other player on my team at my position was the fifth year. She was a senior, and at first, I didn't think I would be on the court all that much throughout the season. But a week before our season opener, she got injured, so I kind of did not have a choice to be on the court. So I had to adjust really quickly to that, and just really get a hang of it quickly, and I've been on the starting six ever since. Well, I was on the starting six from that point on. So it was, I had to learn quickly.
Did you feel ready?
No, absolutely not. Not at all. I'd been training with that team for maybe a month or two, and then a week before the game, I find out that I'm going to have to play, and I really did not expect that. In my mind, my first season was, just to get adjusted to the level. I did not expect, for real, I didn't expect to be on the court, for a full game ever. So it was, I was definitely out of my comfort zone at that point.
So kind of going on that, it's like sometimes things happen like that. Someone gets hurt and it's like next person up. So for you, when the opportunity came and now your time to really fill those shoes, how did you kind of go for preparing for those next games after that?
You just have to go one game at a time and one training session at a time. Back then I was really lucky. My coach was very, very supportive, and he believed in me. He didn't doubt that I could do it and, fill that role quickly. But yeah, it's just about, you have to take in all the information you can and apply what your coach tells you, and like really trust what he's telling you. Like sometimes it might not make sense to you, like in the moment, but just apply it, try it, and you'll see that he's probably right or she's probably right, So really just being open-minded and really view it as a learning experience. It might not go right. I mean, I don't remember that first game like clearly, but for sure I did not play at the top of my abilities at that point. But really view it as a learning experience. It might go right, it might go wrong, but just like take what you can from it and learn from everything you can.
I love how you say one at a time.
Yeah.
I've been watching the Raptors play, and like Kawhi said that a lot, just like I'm thinking day by day type stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Because in sport, we all know it as athletes, everything can change so quickly. Whether it's, are you a starting player or not? If it's just a matter of somebody might, get injured during a practice or a game, and it's your time to, your time to shine, or it's your chance to show that you can do the job, or it's just, even during a game, especially in volleyball or even in basketball, the momentum can switch so quickly that you can't control it all the time. You just have to like stay in the moment and do what you can in that moment. That's kind of how I see it.
So how did the rest of the journey go for you when it came to university and just staying in the moment?
It was a struggle. I'd say my first year, as a team, it didn't end the way we expected. We lost in the regional finals, in the provincial finals, when everybody was expecting us, I think, to make it to nationals, and we ended up losing to a team that I think we had a fair chance to beat. So that first season was, emotionally pretty rough towards the end, but it was such a, like I say, it was such a learning experience, and how the learning curve goes. I just learned so much as an athlete, and how to be a teammate on the court in that first year.
So what does that mean, be a teammate on the court?
It's taking the risk, like owning the responsibility that you have on the court. So my position is I'm a libero, so I'm a specialist in defense and in the first contact. So I have to manage what's going on in the back row, what everybody's doing in defense, and how we adjust the serve receive line and all that. So it's, up until then, I was kind of always listening to what the coach was saying, and it was the same for all of my teammates. But starting from my first year, my coach told me, like, you are in charge of shifting the line. Like he told me, I'm not going to tell you what to do, and you're going to have to tell your teammates how to move. And like I was saying, I was playing with players that I was looking up to like a few months prior to that. So it was kind of interesting for me to, take that role and responsibility of saying, hey, like, you player who's like 4 years older than me, like, go, like, get out of the reception line, we'll put that girl in instead. Or it was being a leader in the way that I had to be on the court. Like, It's something that I hadn't done before, really. I was just the way I saw it was before that was play the best you can, and that's how you help your team, but that's not always the way it goes.
So for you, it was almost, did you kind of feel that because you were younger that the ones that were older wouldn't, not say respect, but just acknowledge you as, acknowledge your voice?
I think that was mostly in my head. Like I think they trusted me, and they always listened to what I was saying on the court, and they never questioned a decision I took in defense or in the like how we were shifting our reception line. It was mostly in my head of like, oh my God, what is she gonna think? Does she think I'm right? Like there was never an instance where somebody said, no, I'm not gonna do that. It's dumb, So it was just getting past that mental block, I think, of like,
I'm good enough.
Yeah, exactly.
I think we can all relate to that. Just we're still in our heads sometimes that we just make things harder than they need to be.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
So as you progress in this journey, earlier you said that the goal was just university. There was nothing past that. So when did that dream go a few more steps, a few more chapters?
Um, I'd say towards the end of my second year of university, we made it to nationals that year, and we ended up winning a bronze medal. And after that, um, after winning the medal at nationals, I got invited to a tryout for the FISU games. They're like Olympics, but for university athletes. So I was invited to that tryout, and basically to be part of kind of a national, to represent Canada at an international competition. And that tryout for me, like in terms of performance, went really well. Like I didn't make the team, but I felt like I showed that I had the skills, I had the will to do it, and I had the motivation and all that, and the talent, and also the talent at that point. But the only thing that was lacking was experience at that point. So that's when I kind of started seeing like, hey, I still have I have 3 years of university, but I feel like there could be more, and I wanted to be more. So um, I think that it's after that trial that I kind of realized there would be more opportunities there. So I think that was a turning point for me.
So in the world of volleyball, especially in Canada,
Yeah.
how does an athlete go about pursuing a pro career? The first step, like, is it an agent, or is it what's the first step you took to kind of make that dream reality, going pro?
Yeah. It's so you finish your 4 or 5 years of university, and then I think the best way to go about it is to find an agency. So there are a few agencies, and well, there's one in Canada that I know of. Most of them in North America are in the States, but those agencies are usually run by people who have played pro in the past in Europe or South America or Asia or wherever they could find a contract, and they have good contacts with clubs in those countries. And so you join that agency, you put up like a highlight video and your CV, and then they're kind of in charge of finding you a job. It's really hard when you're a libero, because for clubs, for European clubs, if they're gonna bring a foreigner in, like an American or a Canadian or whatever else, they're usually gonna go for outside hitters or middle players. So they want to bring in those players who are going to make them win, basically. And the libero's job is not that. So it's really hard. They'll usually fill, in Europe especially, they'll usually fill that spot with a local player. I was actually really, I'm actually really lucky because I have a dual citizenship. So I have my Canadian citizenship, but I'm also, I have citizenship from Slovenia because my dad was born there. So that helped a lot. So I know a lot of, I can name you at least two girls that I know of who I believe were at the same level, but the only reason why they didn't get a contract is because they don't have that citizenship, which kind of sucks. But it's the politics of it all now. So
I was talking to one athlete, Christy Swaggerty, and we were talking about how there's all these athletes that play volleyball in the U.S. and Canada, but there's no like league besides the national teams. Like, it blows my mind.
Yeah, it's I mean, they're trying in Canada. They're trying to like start these leagues that like to start these leagues for athletes who want to keep playing after university, or even while they're still in university. It's like during the summer, but it's not. It's obviously not at the level it is in Europe, and you can't really make a living out of it right now. So it's it's really hard, and it's kind of mind-blowing to think that you can play volleyball professionally pretty much everywhere in the world except for North America. So
yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy. So for you, when you got your first opportunity to, because this was your first season overseas, right?
Yeah.
Playing. Yeah. So what was that first day like?
It was well, the way I found the contract was through this agency that organized kind of a tryout or kind of a tryout for American players. So I was the only Canadian there. So basically the way it worked is all 15 of us players met at a training center in Slovenia. And we were basically just training and playing games like amongst each other, like against each other and against national teams that were also training in that facility. So we played against the Austrian national team, against I was gone by that point, but they also played against the Slovenian national team and all that. So basically it was just like kind of a way to showcase like show off American, like North American players. And on this fourth day that I was there, the whole tryout was like 10 days. On the fourth day that we were there, these Hungarian coaches and managers came up to the agent and said, hey, like, we'd be interested in that player. Can we talk to her and all that? So I was really lucky in the sense that, the reason why they were that interested was because I wouldn't be considered North American, like I said, because of my dual citizenship. So yeah, they talked to me like on the Tuesday night, and they told me, so like tomorrow at like 1 p.m. somebody's gonna pick you up and you're going to Hungary, basically. So I only had a few hours to like call my family, say, hey, I'm going to Hungary for this tryout, like this team is really interested, and pack, and then it was time to go. So yeah, these people from the club picked me and another girl who was at the training camp, and she ended up being my teammate and my roommate too. We went to this small town in Hungary that's like, most people can pronounce it. And we were there for like the first week and a half or 2 weeks was like kind of a tryout, in the sense that they weren't really evaluating our level of play. Like they knew what we could do because they saw us for like 2, 3, 4 days in Slovenia, but they wanted to see if we were a good fit with the club and if we liked the town and all that. So those first 2 weeks were kind of stressful. You don't really know what's going on, if you're going to stay or if they're just going to change their mind, or but yeah, it worked out. So I stayed there I stayed in Hungary for my first season, and it was really quite the adventure, I'd say.
Going back on like the whole like beginning process. So when you get that call that say we want you overseas, is that something that you pay for, or like or the team paying to fly you out, or?
So normally the team pays to fly you out. Um, it's like it's usually included in the contract. Like they're
Okay.
paying to bring you to Europe or whatever country you're going to, and they also pay for your flight to go back home. Normally they also pay for your apartment, so where you're staying, and depending on the sponsors that they get, we got like lunch every day that was free. So it was included in our contract, like 5 days a week when we're training, lunch is included for you, and you get your apartment and a flight home at the end of the season. For me, so last summer I was like sending emails to like so many clubs. I stopped counting, but it must have been like 50 teams in Europe, and I got a few messages back saying, hey, we might be interested, but like nothing ended up working. Like nothing worked out at that, like back then. And towards mid-July I realized it wasn't like it wasn't going to, like, I wouldn't find a contract that way, especially for a first season. So that's when I called this agency and asked them if I could, like, join the showcase tour or whatever they called it. And for that I had to pay, to fly out to Slovenia and the camp and all that. But afterwards, like, that's how I found a job. It was like pretty much my last chance to
So
find a contract back then.
it was worth it. Basically.
Yeah, it was, definitely. It worked out.
It worked out.
Yeah.
So now you are officially a pro volleyball player.
Yes, I am.
So looking back on the girl who just was doing ballet and volleyball just to want to go to university. So now you're living in, like, guess we can say, the elite status, right, of an athlete.
Yeah, it took me a while to be able to. It's weird, but it took me a while to be able to say I'm a professional player. Like, I'm a professional athlete. Whenever I talked about it with my family that didn't really know what was going on with me, I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to Europe to play volleyball. And they're like, okay, but are you gonna work? And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna get paid to play volleyball. And they're like, oh, so you're a professional player? I was like, yeah, you can say that. I don't know what it was, but it was maybe like kind of some imposter syndrome, or it just, you build it up in your head, and then you get there, and it's, you're still the same player and you're still the same person. It's just, I don't know how to say it. It's just, yeah, it took me a while to really register that I was a professional athlete.
So, like, that imposter syndrome, what was that for you? Because you're good enough. So what about it was like made it the imposter syndrome for you?
I don't know, just the fact that I didn't think it would work out for some reason. Like, I honestly, I did. I feel like I worked so hard for it, and that's like at some point last summer, I just thought, I don't think it's gonna work. Like, I'm, sending these videos to all these teams, and like nobody's interested. And I know I just need one person or one team to say yes to, like, get my break, like my big break there. But it's
One opportunity away.
Yeah, exactly. But it's just, I don't know. It's something about the title. I think that, when you say you're a professional athlete, the way when I hear professional athlete, what I imagine is like somebody who's in the NFL or a pro tennis player, or and it's it's not that exactly. It's a different reality.
So for you, it's almost you're kind of banking it on the recognition, maybe. So like how volleyball isn't as mainstream as in the NBA or NFL.
Yeah, maybe that's it. It's I haven't thought about it all that much, really. I just know that it took me a while to say I'm a professional athlete. Like, yeah. I think it must be it. It's from the outside view. Like they imagine that when you're an athlete, you're a professional athlete, like you automatically imagine that the person is like rich and famous, and that's not it at all for like 99% of the professional athletes that are out there. So yeah.
That's so true. That's
Yeah.
so true. So I was reading your blog earlier, and you had an article about that, like your first season and what you learned. Can you kind of explain like what you learned that first year?
Yeah. And it was a lot. Like I only have 7 points there, but it's just the whole experience was, it was really something. Like when I, aside from all the culture shock, because Hungarian culture is different from obviously what we have in North America, but it's also very different from a lot of countries in like within Europe. But the whole like adventure of being like an athlete in Europe was really a learning experience for me. Definitely.
So kind of like one of them was like the comfort zone.
Yeah. That one was like, how can I say? Like I said in my article, you leave it at home because you're gonna be it's like, no, you don't need like those reference points that you have at home that, okay, so when we go in the gym, this is how we do things. When we're in the locker room, or how do we talk to each other in the team, or what are the standards, or you know you just you have to be open-minded like completely and just take everything in. The I think the best advice I could tell someone like after this full year of playing abroad, like if I could go back and tell myself something, would be to think like, I'd say to myself, the standards that you have in university, or that you had when you were playing university, they probably won't apply to where you're going. They won't be the same, and that's okay. It doesn't mean that the standards that you had back home were better or worse, or that what you have right now is better or worse. It's just, it's different, and take what you can from it. Like if you feel, for example, like in terms of quality of play during trainings, like I think it's the same in in the NCAA, but every training is important for us in Canada, or every game is like, I don't know how to explain it.
Is it almost like you expect to win, and overseas they aren't expecting to?
Yeah, exactly. Like at we were one of our first games, we were playing against the team that had won the championship the previous season, and our coach basically walked in. He walked in the locker room and told us, "Okay, so we don't think we're gonna win. Like they're a good team, but like
Dang.
we don't think we're gonna win. But the sponsors, they're in the stands, so like just look happy, okay? Because like they're giving us money." Basically, that's what they told us.
Dang.
So is I mean, when there's money involved like that, like it is a business. It's a different reality. Like the fact that we are professional players does not mean that the overall attitude will be professional towards the sport, whereas when you're in college or in university, like every game is important. Like it doesn't matter if it doesn't matter if people don't expect you to win. Like you're supposed to fight, and you're
And
supposed to try to win, and your coach is not going to walk in and say, we think we're going to lose. But yeah, so that was one of the first shocks that I had.
that's so bold too. Like just walking to your team and be like, especially as a coach, you're like saying, I don't have faith in my team.
Yeah, it's well, yeah, those coaches ended up like getting fired before December. In December, I mean. So
Hey, that
but
would do it. That would do it.
I mean,
Just in this first season, how will this help you going for the next season and the season after that? Like what's like your guess, like yeah, like so like what did that really prepare you for?
it prepared me for the whole mental aspect. It was the first time that I was really left to my own devices to like build up my mental strength. Because in university, like my coach, he had a PhD in sports psychology. So whenever I was like doubting myself or had questions or whatever was going on in my head that I did not like or whatever, I could just go up to him and have a conversation with him and just like sort it out. But when you're 6,500 kilometers away from home, it's not an option really. Like you have to resort to whatever works for you. Like I found that I realized that to me, like journaling, writing down what my thoughts were, like the like the night before the game or the morning of the game, that really helped. So yeah, just being more responsible or autonomous about like managing the mental aspect of the game. I think that was a big step for me this year. I think one of the big wins that I had like personally this year was that I made it to Hungary, I made the team, and then I feel like my performance dropped considerably compared to what I was doing like this season before, because I was adjusting to a new team, a new coach, a new language, a new country, knew everything. Like I knew nobody there and everything was completely new. So like the style of play also and all that, even the ball was different. So that in itself was a big adjustment. And I feel like I was able to like recover from that kind of bad start and go back to the level that I know that I have. So in that sense, like I didn't necessarily improve technically, but the fact that I could maintain that level with all the environmental aspect that was so like uncomfortable in a way, I think that was a big win for me. So this year was definitely a big step for me in that sense.
And the rookie year is always the fun part,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't necessarily the youngest on the team, but I was, I still felt like a rookie because yeah, that's it. It was my first pro season. So yeah.
So what are your next goals? Is it get involved with Team Canada one day? Like what's like your goal that you want to really achieve like going forward now?
Yeah, Team Canada is definitely a dream of mine. Whether it will happen or not is not completely in my control. Um,
Hey, it's possible,
it is. I know it is. I mean, I went to the tryouts this year. I got there. I actually missed the trials because I was still finishing up my pro season. So I had my last game on May 1st in the evening, and on May 2nd at like 6 a.m. I was taking a flight to go back to Vancouver to do try out for the team. I stayed there for a full week, I think. Practicing with the national team, and it was kind of an extended tryout, and I was there, and there were maybe, I think they kept a total of 24 players, and there were about 30 of us when I was there. So I stayed the full week, and I ended up not making the team. So that was kind of a big disappointment for me, especially after I felt like I was at the level when I got there, but then I had to again adjust to a new ball, a new team, a new coach, new players, new gym. I felt like I did not play again at the level that I could, but stuff like that happens. So I'll try to learn from it and maybe go back next year and we'll see.
You got to go for it.
Yeah.
Because just like it's almost like when you're like at the freshman university, that first game, it wasn't your best, but after that you made a national team, all the other stuff. So
yeah, and also I think as athletes we realize like we're fully aware that our time is counted. You know, I'm 24 right now, and I might not have 10 years of volleyball in front of me, you know, because whether my body or will be able to take it or not, I don't know. You know, I think it's something that normally when you're in your 20s, you don't really think about, hey, like my time to do whatever I want to do in this life is counted. But when you're an athlete, you kind of realize it because, well, your knees start hurting at some point, or, you know, you get injured and you realize that like you won't be able to maintain that level or go on forever. So
that lower back pain hits. Like, whew.
Yeah, it does.
Definitely. So I know you have a new website out. So what people find you now? Social media, websites, anything we can kind of plug?
Yeah. So on social media, I'm mostly on Instagram. So at Steph Lojen. And I also have my blog. That's also stephlojen.com. So yeah, on that blog, I just basically share I share what I'm going through, what I went through in the past season, and just like keeping, you know, updating either my family or friends or whoever wants to read it on what's going on with me and what it's like to be a professional athlete abroad. And like, I'm trying to be as authentic as possible. Like, it wasn't always fun. You know, I really enjoyed the experience, but you know, I wrote an article that's named Lessons from a 10-game losing streak, which is a really long time to go without winning. That ever happened to you?
I've been there. I know that feeling.
Yeah. So you know, it's just, and it's, you know, in that first half season, I lost more games than I had, I think, in my full 5 years of university. So yeah, it was tough at some point, but yeah, so I'm just trying to be as authentic as possible in what it's like to be a professional athlete and being abroad and, you know, pursuing your dreams when all your friends, family and boyfriend or girlfriend are back home and living their life basically. So
it's props to you. I remember like when we first talked, when was that? Like December maybe?
Yeah, January, I think.
Yeah. And how you had an idea for a blog, but you didn't do it yet. So it's kind of cool to see, you know, a few months later how it's popping.
Yeah, I was working on it at that point, but I kind of felt like it wasn't ready. And I mean, I launched it, and I still felt like it wasn't ready anyway. But yeah, I think it's always like that. You at some point you just say like, okay, screw it, we'll start and make adjustments.
Get better as we go.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Well, Stephanie, it's been great talking with you. At the same time on your Saturday to kind of hang out on this call. And
yeah, it was great.
Definitely. And we'll be in touch soon, my friend.
Yo, thanks for listening to this episode of the 9 Point Started With a Dream podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please comment, share, leave a review. We would love to hear your thoughts. You can find more athlete-driven content at 9point.com. Till the next episode, you're only one opportunity away. Peace.